The Adventures of Prickly Porky. Chapter 18. A friend in need is a friend indeed. The friendship which is truest, best, is that which meets the troubled test. No one really knows who his best friends are until he gets in trouble. When everything is lovely and there's no sign of trouble anywhere, one may have ever and ever so many friends. At least, it may seem so, but let trouble come, and all too often these seeming friends disappear as if by magic, until only a few, sometimes a very few, are left. These are the real friends, the true friends, and they are worth more than all the others put together. Remember that, if you are a true friend to anyone, you will stand by him and help him no matter what happens. Sometimes it's almost worthwhile getting into trouble just to find out who your real friends are. Peter Rabbit found out who some of his truest friends are when, because of his own carelessness, old Granny Fox caught him. Peter has been in many tight places and had many terrible frights in his life, but never did he feel quite so helpless and hopeless as when he felt the black paws of old Granny Fox pinning him down and Granny's sharp teeth in the loose skin on the back of his neck. All he could do was kick with all his might, and kicking was quite useless, for Granny took great care to keep out of the way of those stout hind legs of his. Many, many times Granny Fox had tried to catch Peter, and always before Peter had been too smart for her, and had just made fun of her and laughed at her. Now it was her turn to laugh, all because he had been careless and foolish. You see, Peter had been so sure that Granny had had such a fright when she ran away from the strange creature that rolled down Prickly Porky's hill at her that she wouldn't think of coming back. And so he had just given himself up to enjoying Granny's fright. At Peter's scream of fright, Uncle Billy Possum scampered to the nearest tree, and Jimmy Skunk dodged behind a big stump. You see, it was so sudden that they really didn't know what happened. But Prickly Porky, whom some people call stupid, made no move to run away. He happened to be looking at Peter when Granny caught him, and so he knew just what it meant. A spark of anger flashed in his unusually dull eyes, and for once in his life, Prickly Porky moved quickly. 1,000 little spears hidden in his coat suddenly stood on end, and Prickly Porky made a fierce rush forward. "Drop him," he grunted. Granny Fox just snarled and backed away, dragging Peter with her and keeping him between Prickly Porky and herself. But this time Jimmy Skunk had recovered himself. You know he's not afraid of anyone or anything. He sprang out from behind the stump, looking a wee bit shamefaced, and started for old Granny Fox. "You let Peter Rabbit go," he commanded in a very threatening way. Now the reason Jimmy Skunk is afraid of nobody is because he carries with him a little bag of very strong perfume, which makes everybody sick but himself. Granny Fox knows all about this. For just a minute she hesitated. Then she thought that if Jimmy used it, it would be as bad for Peter as for herself, and she didn't believe Jimmy would use it. So she kept on backing away, dragging Peter with her. Then Uncle Billy Possum took a hand, and his was the bravest deed of all, for he knew that Granny was more than a match for him in a fight. He slipped down from the tree where he had sought safety, crept around behind Granny, and bit her sharply on one heel. Granny let go of Peter to turn and snap at Uncle Billy. This was Peter's chance. He slipped out from under Granny's paws, and in a flash he was behind Prickly Porky.